Welcome to Prime Sports with me, Razak Musbao. Tonight we will start from Germany, where Joy Sports editor Tahir Fencho is currently at, and the Bundesliga, as part of its effort to deepen connection with Africa, is taking center stage this weekend with a special visit to Germany by some selected journalists across the continent. The packed weekend will culminate with a visit to Bundesliga giant Bayern Munich, who will host rivals Borussia Dortmund on Saturday. Now, on day one of the visit, the media team visited Bundesliga club Augsburg, where Black Stars defender Barbara Mann remains a cult hero. Joy Sports editor Tahir Fencho is among the journalists on the trip, and he came through with this report.
All right, we're here again on another Bundesliga media visit. Today's day one, and we are starting off at Augsburg. This is the stadium right behind me, the WWK Arena. Augsburg has a very strong history in the Bundesliga and very good operations, well-rooted in Africa, especially in South Africa. But there's also a bit of history connected to this club and Ghana. Barbara Mann famously played here in the 2014-2015 season, where he emerged one of the top players in the Bundesliga before his eventual transfer to Chelsea the next season. So we're going to find out today what this club is all about, and especially Barbara Mann's history with this particular club. So let's go. We're here. Let's go. The day started with a presentation by Jonas Nettek, Bundesliga International's head of audiovisual rights, on the league's global operations, and he zeroed in on their presence in Africa. Now, the Bundesliga is a league that prides itself in being the most watched league in the world in terms of average attendance to games. Now, with over 40,000 fans trooping to sold-out Bundesliga stadiums each week, while also averaging the most goals scored per game at 3.3. That is ranking above the Premier League in both of those aspects. Now, much of that is rooted in the fan ownership of the clubs and the relatively low ticket prices in the league, with the average price of a Bundesliga match ticket hovering around 26 euros, the lowest among the top 5 leagues in Europe. Now, with 22 African players currently plying their trade here in Germany, with 53 players out of that with their roots from Africa, the continent has become even more important, with the league organizing community outreach programs and mass viewing experiences across the continent in Ghana, in Nigeria, and in South Africa each season. Now, Nettek says the similarities between African and German football makes this relationship between the two regions even more critical.
For me, there's various similarities for the German football and for the African football and how the Africans live football, because we as the Bundesliga, we stand for authentic football. We stand for the football that it's meant to be played, and I really think that this is the same in Africa. Africans, as I've said, we are a breeding ground for talents, and we really want to develop the youth, and that's what we as the Bundesliga stand for. We want to provide those opportunities to you guys.
Now, after that presentation was another one by Augsburg CEO Michael Stroh. In his presentation, he highlighted the humble beginnings of the club from their formative years in 1907 up to their promotion to the Bundesliga in 2011, where they have now remained for the past 14 years. Now, in that period, they've had quite the success, also including community outreach programs in South Africa last season, where the first team spent a considerable amount of time. Now, their best season arguably came in the 2014-2015 season, where they finished 5th on the table and qualified for Europe. Much of that success was as a result of the performance of one Ghanaian, Abdul Babar Rahman, played at left back, was one of the standout performers of the club that year, powered him to Europe and subsequently earned him a big money move to Chelsea. That remains the club's highest transfer out of Augsburg up until this season. Now, Stroll has been explaining Rahman's impact in his only season with the Bavarian club.
He was the record transfer until last summer when we sold Demirovic. So that says a lot about his quality, his development. So everyone knows him because he was the highest transfer in history of the club before Demirovic. And we loved keeping him, but it was not possible. It was not possible from a point of view that with that contract in Chelsea, only not to tell the concrete figures, but with that contract in Chelsea, his life, not only for him, for his family, for his town, it was done in a positive way. So and therefore, as a club, you also have to find solutions from a moral standpoint. That's also not always common. For us, it was common. That in that situation, we have to find a solution also for the player.
Now, after a short coffee break, the team was presented with customized Augsburg jerseys, followed by mixed zone sessions with head coach Jess Thorup, DR Congo striker Samuel Essende, and Nigerian midfielder Frank Onyeka. Onyeka was kind enough to present me with a signed jersey, and he says he's particularly looking forward to the Unity Cup match between Ghana and Nigeria in London in June this year.
Yeah, I am. It's always, big rival between Nigeria and Ghana, and also it's also good to play this cup to bring the country together, and hopefully we win against Ghana. Yeah.
Now, after lunch in the stadium's hospitality cafeteria, we were giving a 50-minute access to the first team's training, just about 300 meters away from the stadium, where the players arrived one by one via bicycles. Now, of course, the day concluded with an exclusive tour of the club stadium with the VVK Arena, which has a capacity of 30,000 people, with 19,000 of those being seated, the other 11,000 being standing seats with ultras and what have you. Now, this stadium is ultra-modern, hosting international matches in the past and clearly one of the favorite grounds in the Bundesliga. In the end, it was a truly satisfying trip that highlighted the Bundesliga's power and connection to the African market. And it showcased Augsburg as a football club that is truly focused on making an impact, not just on the pitch, but in the community as well, both near and far. For Joy Sports, Fentio Tahiru Fentio from Augsburg, Germany.
Well, let's stay in Germany and look forward to what will be happening this weekend in the Top Flight League. And for that, we're joined by Danya Barcelona. She is with our partner station DWTV, and she's joining us all the way from Berlin, Germany. Danya, good to see you again. I mean, looking at the upcoming fixtures, you've got Dortmund, who will travel to Munich to face Bayern Munich. It's a big game, one that, of course, Bayer Leverkusen will be keeping an eye on, hoping that Bayern Munich will drop points and close the gap at the top of the table. What should we expect from this Der Klassiker, especially with Dortmund coming into the game following that defeat to Barcelona?
Well, Der Klassiker, as we just said, is the biggest game in Germany. It's a little bit of a strange one because it's not technically a derby because Bayern and Dortmund are not very close geographically, but they're the two biggest teams, the two most well-known teams. So every time they meet, it's a great event. Now, this edition of Der Klassiker has a lot of high stakes because it's very important for Bayern and for Dortmund for different reasons. Now, Bayern, of course, they are in first place in the Bundesliga. They want to reclaim the Bundesliga title, and they have Leverkusen hot on their tail. So it's important for them not to drop any points. Now, Dortmund has turned their season around, and they actually have a chance to qualify for the European spots this season. So both of them really need the points from this Klassiker. This edition will be in Munich, so Bayern will have the home crowd on their side, and that's a bit of an advantage. And in the head-to-head, Bayern also, they've won more games. But each time they play, it's an absolute intense match and anything can happen ultimately. So really looking forward to this match, and it should be a firecracker.
It should be a firecracker, but let's talk about second place, Bayern Leverkusen. They will be looking, of course, to capitalize on any possible mistakes that Bayern might make in the game against Dortmund. Do they stand any chance of closing the gap, Bayern Munich? At the moment, it's about 6 points separating both sides, but do they stand any chance of closing the gap on Bayern Munich?
If there's any team that really believes that they have a chance, it's Leverkusen. Since Xabi Alonso has taken over, he's really instilled that fighting spirit and that belief in Leverkusen. You can see that in how many games they've scored goals at the very last second. This is a team that is never going to give up until the very end of the Bundesliga. Now, that being said, they are in second place and they are 6 points behind Bayern Munich. So it's a little bit hard to imagine Bayern dropping those points in the season because they have so much experience on their side, and also it's so important that they reclaim the Bundesliga title. It will definitely be hard. That being said, Bayern also has to play games against Leipzig and Dortmund, who are fighting for things in the season. So it is very possible Leverkusen is going to have to stay sharp if they want to have a chance, and anything can happen.
Thank you very much for your time. That's Diana Barcelona with our partner station DWTV, joining us all the way from Germany. But let's turn attention to England now, because Egyptian forward and captain Mohamed Salah has now extended his contract at Liverpool. Well, the long-awaited contract extension happened earlier today, and head coach of the side, Arne Slot, has been reacting to that contract extension, which will see Mohamed Salah stay at Liverpool for another 2 years. Here is Arne Slot, who says it's a big relief to have their man staying.
Happy, of course. He's shown at this club for so many years in a row now how much of value he has for the team, for the club. So I assume all our fans and his teammates, we are very happy that he extended for 2 more years. And hopefully, he can show Sunday again how important he has been for the whole season to us.
Is the relief as well?
I think for the fans it is. I don't think it's a surprise to you that I knew a bit better how his contract situation went over the course of the whole season. So maybe for the fans it was a pleasant surprise. I knew it a bit longer, of course, that things were heading in the right direction. And I think it's also a big compliment for Richard that he achieved to extend Mo Salah, who's such a great player, as a free agent, can go probably to every club in the world wherever he wants to. But he stayed at our club, and that's also a compliment for Richard, I think.
Well, let's turn attention to the Ghana Premier League local scene, because the action will also continue. Match day 27. Kumasi Asante Kotoko top of the table at the moment. Bibini Gold Stars second, and Heart of Folk, following their win against Midyama last week, will be looking to secure some back-to-back victories when they travel to Tema. Let's go through the fixtures, and you see them on your screen there. You can see that big games coming up: Accra Lions and Basake Holy Stars. You've got Vision FC and Accra Heart of Folk also playing that game happening in Tema, big one. And Karela United, the Diana Football Club, also in action. Asante Kotoko playing Bichim United in Kumasi, another very big game. Santraman and Nations FC game is still going to happen because of Santraman's withdrawal from the league. And you've got Bibiani Gold Stars also playing Young Apostles. But even before that, you see Legon Cities have got a game against Samatex. And then you've got Brecum Chelsea playing Pando Heart of Lions. So quite some exciting fixtures to look forward to. But this is the table. This is the standings at the moment. This weekend's games will impact the standings tremendously. And if you look at it closely, you've got Kumasi Asante top of the table, just 1 point ahead of second place Bibiani Gold Stars. And we're going to bring you that very shortly. And just 1 point ahead of Bibiani Gold Stars. So Kotoko will need to win against Bichim United to, keep their chances of winning the title alive. But let's now hear from head coach of Accra Heart of Folk, Abubakar Ouattara, who is confident of securing all 3 points against Vision FC come Sunday.
As of Folk, we don't brag. We are going to play on Sunday at Tema to get the maximum point in Camp House.
Your players, how prepared are they?
Everybody is okay. We are ready to play that match after we travel again. These are Suffolk. So the players are well. We have 1 or 2, 3 players. I don't know if you can play Apidu particularly. Hussein, I'm looking, is 60%. Ramsey, I think, is out. That the rest of the players are there. We have 1 red card. Emmanuel Mankwa. So the rest of the players are there. Let me tell you, all the matches, all the 9 matches as of we have is the final. Is the tough matches. As of we need to prepare yourself more than 140%, 50%, because all the things we are going to meet are good. So we are preparing yourself for that.
Well, listen attention to some rather unfortunate news having to do with Ghana's under-20 men's and women's hockey teams who have now officially withdrawn from the upcoming Junior Africa Cup. Now, this was scheduled to take place in Windhoek, Namibia from April 18 to 2025. And George Sports is picking up that the 2 teams have now withdrawn due to some financial constraints. Now, the Junior Africa Cup serves as the continental qualifier for the 2025 Junior World Cup in India. This marks another missed opportunity for Ghana to return to a junior level international hockey competition. The country has not featured in a continental junior tournament since 2010, when its under-17 team won the competition and subsequently represented Africa at the Youth Olympic Games. And for lack of fans, the teams have now withdrawn from the competition. To para sports now, and St. Augustine's College high jumper Ampia Gilbert has earned a spot to represent Ghana at the 2025 Crown Prince Moulay El Hassan International Para Athletics meeting in Marrakesh, Morocco. Gilbert, who went viral on social media for his stunning performance during training ahead of the Inter-Schools tournament, is now part of Team Ghana for the 9th edition of the competition. The teenager will depart Ghana for Morocco on April 20, along with men's shot put athletes Governor Edmond and Issa Zinabu. Here is President of the African Paralympic Committee, Samson Dean, on what this will mean for the young athletes.
Marrakesh is to set the tone for him to be classified. He will be classified between 21st to 23rd, and where his class is identified and is plotted to compete in a category of same, so that he will not cheat, nobody will cheat him, then he becomes a recognized para-athlete and not a Paralympian. Because not long ago, I realized that any athlete at all, persons with disability participate in para-sports. People call them they are not Paralympian. The only athletes who are Paralympian are those who have competed at the Paralympic Games. They are Paralympian. So that he will now be identified as a para-athlete. When he becomes a para-athlete, he will then compete between the 24 to 26, where he will don the jersey, the red, gold, green, with black star, to see if Ghana will win a medal. We have so much trust in him that he will do well. I've always told people that in sports, even if you are naive, but you are disciplined, you'll be a star. I've been to competitions where I've seen people competing. You see them very dull, but when they wear the dress, the sports wear, that is where you realize that they are different people. Why? Because their mentality has been polished. They have been psyched that the only option they have is to mount the podium and get recognition. He needs to be disciplined. With what I have seen him do, he is a great asset to Ghana. Discipline is key.
Now, the Minister of Education, Haruna Idrisu, has announced government plans to get resources to reintroduce the Sports and College Sports Festival this year to end the 5-year hiatus. The minister, who hinted at sending players to Madrid said in collaboration with the Ministry for Sport under the leadership of the Ghana Education Service, the sports festival will help unearth young talent for the various national teams. And Idrisu was addressing CHAS members at a forum in Sunyani, from where Precious Semivo sent this report.
I've just discussed it with the Honorable Minister for Youth and Sports, the Honorable Kofi Adam. I expect him to provide leadership. Then GES and the Ministry of Education will collaborate using our schools to allow for competitiveness of it. You know, because I'm here in a formal capacity, I can't even discuss this because that would not be ethical. I'm into football, and believe me, I'm sending 6 players to Madrid who I'm picking from some of the schools. So it's huge potential for young people. So we are sure that the Ministry for Youth and Sports, in collaboration with the Ministry of Education and under the leadership of the Ghana Education Service, will reintroduce sports and colleges festival in our schools beginning this year. We will look for resources so that before the end of this year, at least we end the 5-year drought of this initiative. We need to identify and groom young talents and develop them for our national team, whether under 15, under 17, or they will mature even into the Black Stars.
Well, all looking forward to the sports festival there. Well, we have more stories for you on myjoyonline.com, and look forward also to the games that will be happening in the Ghana Premier League this weekend. That's all we have for you. We're back on Monday. Thank you for your company.